state of a whole generation's health.
Yes.
That's the part.
Yes.
Yes. You can talk about it because when I read that in one of the books that you had recommended to us for research, I was livid. I was like, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about just the health of within our community, it starts with formula.
Yes.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. And, people think like, oh, they're getting all the vitamins and their nutrients. There's a reason why you have to sterilize the formula. It's not just about using...
And people...
Welcome to another episode of Unpacking Motherhood. And today, and every time we record this, not just for today, I have two amazing ladies to my left, Stormy and Kia, who are both amazing, powerful women, biblical women, as Stormy says, women of God, the Most High.
I didn't say it like that. Don't you? The elders, they be like, "Good morning, woman of God." I'm like, "Good morning, Edna."
Not Edna. I had an aunt named Edna.
Oh, sorry, Edna.
Yes,
talking
Edna.
about
Edna.
Here,
Edna.
sorry. Excuse
I
me.
have two amazing women next to me, to say the least. And I feel like you guys offer a great range. And we don't claim to know everything about motherhood, but between the three of us, I believe that there's a wealth of knowledge. And we hope, to say something that resonates with you to help you feel seen. But that's our normal go-to. But today we're going to start a pot just a little bit. I have gotten personally a little bit of flack on this topic when I talk about breastfeeding. And oh my gosh, it's like people feel attacked. And this is not a personal attack on anybody.
Let's just put that out there now.
But we're just going to talk about facts because we know what we're talking about. Part 2 to the Got Milk episode, we kind of talked about just breastfeeding on the go. And it was a cute little surface level conversation. But we need to talk about why we don't breastfeed. Like, why do we not breastfeed, especially in the Black community? There's a reason why we have Breastfeeding Week. And I've even posted, like, beautiful images of, like, Black women breastfeeding. And it's like, well, why can't we just do celebrating Breastfeeding Week? Like, why does it have to be celebrating Black?
Why can't your mama do it?
Somebody said, get your mama to
Get your mama. Okay? All right.
There's a reason why. And, like, when we think about just the dark history with Black women and breastfeeding, it's thick, it's deep, and it's really nothing to smile about because it's sad. You know, trauma has been passed through our generation, and we are literally generational curse breakers. And just having these conversations, like, oh, I don't want that titty milk. I like that baby. There's things that we hear, like, you don't breastfeed boys, and they don't need all of that.
Right.
And when you get baby some real food, just the little things that we hear, like, where does it come from?
Right.
Short answer, slavery.
Yeah. That's kind of the beginning because, of course, we were doing this before we were brought here involuntarily, so it wasn't a problem then. But then we became wet nurses for children that didn't belong to us. Yeah. We couldn't even breastfeed our own children.
Right.
We had to hurry up and get back to work. Yeah. So there was a whole huge detachment from breastfeeding beginning with slavery for us. We were capable of it, but we weren't worthy enough to breastfeed our own children. Right? Then that just kind of translates a little bit further, and now the grandchildren of those women have zero interest in breastfeeding. It wasn't modeled for them, and what they did witness, it was extremely traumatic. They're breastfeeding their oppressor.
Right. I want nothing to do with that.
Nothing. You don't want anything to do with that. So here we are. Our grandmas who had those grandmas don't know the first thing about breastfeeding. We mentioned in one episode, again, I don't know when it'll fall in, but our grandmothers don't even really know much about self-satisfaction, pleasure, anything like that. So let alone the idea of breastfeeding your child and understanding the benefits of it. Okay. their breasts were more sexualized in that era.
Yeah.
It was like, these are for my husband, or the husband is like, you are not going to breastfeed our child.
Right.
You're not doing that, because they didn't understand the importance of it. Because again,
It's
it wasn't.
nasty.
It was
Yeah.
nasty. It wasn't modeled for them. Like my grandma to this day, she does not like the fact that I breastfeed. She just thinks that's so weird that I do it and they're big and they're sitting up and looking at me. She was like, "You still giving that baby titty milk?"
Right.
I'm like, I am, Grandma. Why, just give us some formula? I said, but why would I do that?
Yeah.
That's gonna make them sick.
Yeah.
You know.
Speaking of the history of formula, and a lot of people don't know the history behind the formula movement, like why it began in a time where it was sold as like, you know, in the feminist era, it was sold as a way of freedom, but for us, it was also to control our narrative. Like,
Yes.
there's so many layers to
And
why
control
formula.
the state of a whole
Yes.
generation's
Yes.
health.
Yes.
That's the part.
Yes.
Yes. You
Yes.
can talk about it
Yes.
because when I read that in one of the books that you had recommended to us for research, I was livid. I was like, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about just the health of within our community, it starts with formula.
Yes.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. And, you know, people think like, oh, they're getting all the vitamins and the nutrients. There's a reason why you have to sterilize the formula. It's not just about using...
And people aren't sterilizing the formula.
No, it's not just
They
about
don't
using
even
bottled...
read how you're supposed to do it.
Right.
Let's pause for a second. You're supposed to boil the water to sterilize the formula, which is, hello, red flag.
Red flags.
It's no, I just
How
use
many
a
of y'all
bottle of
boiling water?
Yeah, I just use a bottle of water. That's good. So my water, it's not to sterilize the water, it's to sterilize the formula.
Yeah.
Yep, it's not sterile at all.
Not sterile
That's the
at
reason
all.
why
So.
there's maggots and stuff in there. But anyway,
Not maggots and formula.
well, you know, some
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Some cans,
Metal as
like,
well.
you open it up. It's
Yeah.
just a lot. It was systematically discouraged in our community. Because we didn't know the value of it at the time. We knew that was just something we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But they knew, the powers that be, knew the value of breast milk on a cellular level. That brings up strong people, that brings up healthy immune systems. So we depend on you a whole lot less as we get older. You set the blueprint for your child's health very, very young,
Right.
while they're in the womb
Yeah.
Right.
and the first 2 years of their life. You're setting the blueprint for their health. So I am going to piss people off. Breast milk is better.
Scientifically.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not, and it's like people think it's like apples to apples or apples and oranges. Like you're not choosing between Pepsi and Coke. Like that's not what it is. You know, it's
No.
scientifically
No, yeah.
breast milk is superior. When you think about it, we're mammals. Like we wouldn't give formula to a lion or a whale.
No, and you're not
we
gonna
are
catch them kinda
we are
wanting it.
enough. We are creating exactly what's needed. But also you got to think about the lactation counselors in hospitals that are trained by
Heavy emphasis.
that are trained to view us walking into our room and assuming that we aren't going to breastfeed anyway.
Right.
So let's go ahead and teach you how to do formula.
Do formula. Yeah.
We're not even going to help you with breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Kia saw that. Kia, when I had Noemi.
Yes, yes. So, long story short, but the nurse actually walked in with the formula.
That's what
before
happened
she
to us.
asked
Yeah.
anyone.
She was just
She
born.
was ready to give the baby formula, and no, ma'am. Like, she wants her baby to be breastfed, and because A was not there to speak for herself, the father and her doula were able to do the input, because I was like, no ma'am, you didn't even give her a chance. You didn't come in and you didn't ask. Like, you had it in your pocket ready.
Yes.
You already put in because they have to put in prescriptions pretty much. They already put in a prescription for the formula.
And they frame it to where you're doing what's best because you're not making
She was
enough
afraid
right
of
now.
my
Right.
sugars. She's like, I'm afraid that her sugars are just dropping.
Right.
Like my baby was just born
Yeah,
literally like an hour ago.
this
Why
conversation
would I-
could go on into multiple episodes, but
Yeah.
we try our best to not hold y'all long here.
Right.
But the same thing happened with us with our first. They came right into the room, and Chris had to say multiple times, "We are breastfeeding." He's like, "Did you not hear me? My wife wants to breastfeed."
Right.
It's like,
No,
well, you're
what-
not making enough right now. And they pressed, and so they had Chris feeding Ava through a syringe. And it was just like, you're enough. We don't know enough about our bodies and milk, but again, that's all systematic. We are not as invested in our community in that because we think because we have it, it's going to work out, or it don't.
Right.
And please don't come in the comments to say, but I couldn't breastfeed. I mean, this is not for there are special cases. It's not, we're not talking about you. There are cases where people truly cannot breastfeed, but majority of people don't get educated.
Exactly.
And they don't do the prep work. I'm telling you, shout out if you do bottle feed, if you do formula feed, it's hard work. Breastfeeding,
Either way,
it's hard work. And you know, if I knew that I had the option of setting up my child's immune system as best as I possibly could, because we don't even know all of the outcomes of what formula can do to a person in a negative way. Yeah, and we'll never know.
Right.
We won't truly know.
Because why would they narrow it down and say that it's formula?
Exactly.
They would never do that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They would never do that. But when I get questions about babies and parents have concerns, my first question, and usually I don't get an answer back because they get offended. I'm like, okay, well, before I can help you, is your baby formula fed or breastfed? I need to know how to best approach this, because if it's formula fed, then we need to talk about that. Yeah. If the baby's breastfed, I need to know what you're eating.
Yeah.
Because you still need to be mindful of what you're eating too.
I've seen that too, where so when you do breastfeed too, sometimes you might have to change your diet for a season. You know, someone's like, I heard someone say, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, oh, my kid's allergic to dairy, so I can't breastfeed anymore. It's like, well,
stop eating dairy.
You're
not a cow.
Exactly.
Stop. I mean, you may feel like one.
Yes.
Right.
I declare for Lord, I feel like one. But just stop eating dairy.
Yeah. You have and be okay with that season.
I hate to say this is going to rub people wrong.
Listen.
But sometimes we're looking for an out because it's hard. And we don't want to do this. And if we find an excuse to stop instead of saying, I ain't doing this shit no more.
Right.
It's easier.
Right.
And it looks better to other people.
Yeah.
If it's not good for your mental health, okay, great. But also make provisions and consider your baby's health in the process. Because, again, this is a temporary window, too.
Right.
They didn't ask to be here.
No,
right.
they didn't.
So,
right.
They didn't.
And as a parent, we should want to do the best that we can. And so if there is a way to offer the best, then offer it for that season.
Let's do that.
I have 2 kids with major dairy allergies.
Yeah, you
so
push through.
Listen, that it's no joke. So
it's hard. It's hard, but choose your hard.
Yeah.
There's enough powers that be against us, enough companies systematically working, putting things out there, sitting back and watching the product of it, watching us scramble, watching us make choices that we hope work out in their favor. That's happening enough. There's literally a big company that has been working since the 40s.
Yeah.
Against us.
Yeah.
And we are still seeing the fruits of their labor today.
Yeah.
We
It's a
are.
domino effect.
It's like you're walking test dummies right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Technically, yeah.
For a lot of things.
yeah.
For a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sadly.
So do your research. I always say that. Do your research. What does that look like? Read books. You know, one of the books that I enjoy is The Big Letdown.
Yes, I love that book.
And
written by a sister, by the way.
Yeah, you have one.
Skimmed is another one. If you are an emotional reader, I promise you will get pissed off and you will sit that book down and circle back and pick it back up. But it will make you angry, and you will understand why we feel the way we do and why we're so passionate about it. It's hard. We're not saying that it's easy,
right?
Because it's not. It hasn't been easy for any of us,
right?
But it's also worth it. You know, if you can set your child up,
yeah,
you know, for good health, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And you can always start this way before baby even gets here. Like, reach out to a lactation consultant and read these books so that you have a better understanding, and that way you aren't waiting until baby's here and there is an issue and you already know the signs beforehand because you did the work beforehand, and you know, like, okay, something's not right. My baby's fussy. Something's not right. There's some gas, there's gas buildup. Something's not right. You've done that work, and that will help you with this journey, because it is hard. It's very hard.
Shaping your perspective helps.
Yes.
If you shape it early, and then when you come across the humps, it's a lot easier to get through.
Yes.
Manage those expectations.
For sure.
All right, so we hope we didn't stir the pot too much, but I already know y'all gonna be in the comments. It's all good. While you're in the comments, go ahead and like and share. Share it with your friends, your groupies.
They gonna do
Say,
that
girl,
anyway.
you need to see what they was talking about. The nerve of them.
Right,
Yeah, the
Right,
nerve of
how
us.
dare us?
Right.
How dare us? We dare. We need to have these conversations. It's a
Yes.
conversation. You know, if you found something that resonated with you, tell us about it in the comments.
Right.
And
Something pissed
like
you
and-
off. You can
like-
tell us that too.
Yes.
Like and subscribe. But we hope to see you guys next time for our next episode. We hope that you will tune in for Unpacking Motherhood. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Peace out.